2200 plus 300 shipping, so 3500 along with shipping. Next one, length and frequency. Length వచ్చి 24 అంటే మీరు ఈ టైప్ ఆఫ్ ఇదంతా ఖాళీ మోడల్ అంటే ఈ టైప్ ఆఫ్ స్టిచ్చింగ్ కే 2500 అవుతుంది. మనకి మీరు ఎక్కడైనా చెక్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఫిక్స్ లహంగా అయినా మొత్తం ఖాళీ మోడల్ అండ్ విత్ బ్లౌజ్ లెంగ్త్ 30 బ్లౌజ్ లెంగ్త్. దిస్ ఈస్ ద లుక్ ఆఫ్ ద లహంగా అండ్ బ్లౌజ్.
Good evening all. Okay. Fine. So let's start our session. Today's concept is about basics of JavaScript, and we will learn basic concepts like what is JavaScript and where it is used, and what are the components, and what are the basic like variables, what are the data types, and what are the operators and how many types we have, and basic hands-on. Okay, hands-on with these basics. Right. So what is JavaScript? Yes, what is JavaScript? No answer from anyone. It's fine. Before this, let me open my Eclipse. Okay, so let's move to JavaScript. Then we'll go to hands-on. Right. Right. So in this module, we are going to learn about introduction about scripting language. And yes, it's about JavaScript and execution of JavaScript. And yes, so where, the script or JavaScript will be included in HTML and the functions of JavaScript, and yes, internal and external JavaScript. Okay, so then it's about variables, data types, and operators. So then programming constructs in JavaScript and built-in methods in JavaScript. Okay, along with this, JavaScript statements and the blocks along with the comments. Right. Yes, it is a verb of web page. So that defines all the actions to be performed on web page or website. Right. So that is JavaScript. Fine. It's not only used for that. So basically JavaScript is used for validation. Okay. So what kind of validation? Specifically, it is client-side validation. Fine. Right. So yes, JavaScript is a lightweight, which is mostly interpreted and used by several websites for scripting web pages, which are the actions, needs to be handled. So those can be performed with the help of this JavaScript. And we can say it as a full-fledged programming language. Yes, it enables dynamic interactivity. So specifically for the dynamic, okay, right, for enabling dynamic interactivity on website, which will be applied to an HTML document. And of course, this can be classified in two types. So those are client-side scripting and server-side scripting. So we can say it as that there are two types of Java scripting. So that one is client-side scripting and the other one is server-side scripting. So what is client-side scripting? Here it's given about, when it's client-side scripting is nothing but when the, script is interpreted and or, with a client side or on client machine, we say it as an client-side, a scripting language. And if it is with a server, if the scripting language interpreted with a server, that's called it as a server-side scripting language. But what exactly the difference? Let's go ahead here, right? So here is an, login form. We can say it's here I have taken it as an educational, education appoint form. Okay, so before, meeting or before taking, an appointment, definitely you need to register with an application, is it? Without registration, we can log in. We cannot log in, right? And now we are talking about a client side. So now here are the few fields, or we can say UI components. What are those? We have text field, right? So we have choices, we can select options, and we have checkbox as well, right? And while entering, details like, title or the name or email ID or phone number, so there will be, few instructions for this application. Okay, without, instruction with this application, we can enter any kind of data, but that will not provided any security to an application or with an application, right? So that needs validation. Okay, whenever you enter, any kind of data on UI components, suppose if the data is not meets its criteria. Suppose, example, let me take, assume that name. So the length of the name field should be minimum 5 characters and maximum 10 characters. Suppose if the user enters more than that, it has to display validation error or error message. Okay, so this is called it as a kind of, client side validation. That's what here is about. Why would you let a data in a wrong format reaches to the server for validation? Before reaching to us, there will be a client side validation. So especially with the UI components, that's called it as a client side validation. Okay, so example we can give JavaScript is an example for this server side validation or server side component scripting language. Okay, hope it's clear. Now we'll move to server side. Okay, so let's take an example as login page. Actually, we can take here, it's a request appointment as well, but here let me take, when we talk about server side application, now assume that it's a login form. So with the login, let me take Gmail. Okay, because all of you are familiar with the Gmail, is it? And now yes, and now after entering username and password, definitely we'll click on login button. When we click on login button, yes, the data will be sent to the server, the username and the password, and it validates, means the server interacts with the database. Okay, server interacts with the database and it checks for the data. Okay, so which are the data sent by user while before login, whatever the data we enter, so that data will be redirected to the server, and now server validates the data. So that's called it as a server side scripting language. So we can, and there are many programming or server side validations. So example, we can use PHP, Perl, Python, etc. Even we have server side validation filters also, but not exactly for the validation. So that's for the pre-processing, servlet and filters. Hope it's clear. The differences between client side and server side validation. If it is server side, if it is client side, before entering, before clicking on a specific button, submission or registration, etc. So that meets specific criteria. Okay, so if it is a server side, after clicking, after selecting a specific button like login, so the data will be sent to the server, and then it will check with the database. Server interacts with the database and it validates whether the user entered data is valid or not. So that's called it as a server side validation. Right. So let's move to the another part, right? Yes. So again, it's a continuation of that, client side scripting language. Yes. So basically, it processes user inputs and validations. It performs validations, and later, latest will be on client side, or we can say single page. Okay, single page application. If it is on server side, yes, using Node.js, we can achieve that. Yes, it can be, it can be used for creating standalone applications or network application. We do have REST services, spelling mistake here. It's a REST services or service layers. And also from traditional validation module. Okay, from traditional validation module, yes, as a libraries. Okay, as a JavaScript libraries, we can use jQuery or React, React.js, etc. Okay. And if it is a framework, that same traditional, validation can be achieved with the help of this, frameworks like Angular, Ember, and so on. Okay. Right. And what are the advantages or, the benefits of JavaScript? Of course, it improves transactions and response time and reduces the server load time. And also it provides, less server interaction. It's specifically for the, it can be validate user inputs before, sending response back to the client, right? And also it provides a immediate feedback. So these are the few advantages of JavaScript, right? So next is, it's about embedding JavaScript in HTML or, before embedding. Yes, actually we can have types of methods. So internal script and external script. So we have learned, inline CSS and external CSS. Same difference. If it is an internal, yes, we can use this, scripting language or script or a JavaScript within a HTML file. If it is an external, actually these two are both an example for internal only, but I missed here header part, the second one. Before header also, I mean after header also we can use this scripting. Okay. And right, so the scripting JavaScript always, it's represented with the help of tag script. Okay, so which tag is that? Script tag. Right. So where we have this one, this script tag is one, which can be used for achieving or implementing JavaScript. And compulsorily we have to specify either language or type. It depends, language or type. So these are the attributes. Okay, right. So we have two types. One is internal, script and external script. If it is an internal script, yes, we can include this, JavaScript inside inside HTML page. And if it is an external, JavaScript, so basically we write JavaScript in separate file with a .js extension, and we can include or we can link that in a HTML. So that's called it as a external JavaScript. Okay, and yes, that file can be reused, any number of text files, I mean HTML files. Okay, so the external files can be external script. JavaScript file can be used multiple times, or we can say it as an reusable. Right. Okay, fine. So here is about external JavaScript. Of course, JavaScript can be put in a separate file. We can write separate file and we can save that by using .js file. And here is about it includes the external JavaScript file in a HTML file by using script tag, script along with the src, okay, resource. And yes, an external JS file can be used in multiple HTML pages whenever it is required. And this external, JS file cannot itself contain script tag. Remember, external JavaScript file cannot contain or cannot, have this script tag itself. And right, so this JavaScript can be put in HTML form, such as with the buttons. Okay, right. And this JavaScript will be executed when the form object is created. Okay, so when object, while execution, when object is created, that time this JavaScript will be called. Specifically with the functions, remember. Right. So then it's about, the next thing is about execution of JavaScript. Right. So yes, we can directly have this, JavaScript into the header of the page, or it can have directly into the body tag, or with the help of event handlers. Okay. So the locations into where we can attach this JavaScript, three ways we can attach. One is header part, another one is in a body part, body tag, or the third one is with the event handlers. Okay, so these are the three ways we can execute this JavaScript files. Right. So the next one is about JavaScript data types. So you people have heard about data types. Right. So basically data types are used for specifying what kind of data we are assigning to a memory. Right. So there should be a specification what kind of data, value we are, assigning to a memory. To specify that, we use this data types, but in JavaScript, the data types are not needed. to assign, values. Okay, we are not going to use any specific data types. So how do we declare, how do we use this, values or variables? So with the help of var keyword. So here you can observe. So we have assigned a value directly with, their declared variables like age, name, IDs. And this is an example for your, array type. Okay. Screen is not visible. See, client side in the sense, when you enter, name, it says that it must contain, it must have alphabets, that to one uppercase and, one uppercase and one number and one special characters, right? So it gives errors, while entering the data. Yes or no? So that is client side validation. Okay, if it is a server side validation, basically you will enter, username and password. Okay, you'll enter username and password while entering, so that data actually it sends to the server. Immediately, it gives a response back when the data is not, present in a database. Okay, so let me take an example. Yesterday, we have seen that required equals to, required. In the last session, we have seen required mandatory field, no? So along with this, we can specify the pattern. Okay, of course, there we have not used, JavaScript. So, but that is a kind of, client side validation. Yeah. I've just taken. Let me take, Actually, I'm just showing you a sample one. Okay. So now let me take. I'm just taking this in N. Now. See, now again, this field is validating. So what it is validating? So email address, value must be entered by the user. Right? Okay. And okay, let it be. Let's take. And now I'll click on sign up. It's taking so much time. So it says that too many users Okay, so too many users have the mail ID or mail address. It's listed here. Okay. Now, okay. So when I enter, so it's giving what it is giving actually. So your mail ID do not match, the criteria. So please try again. So this is our client side validation. Okay. So if you have registered successfully, assume that client side validation is success and it will goes to server side. Okay. So after of course, now assume that okay, I signed up everything with a valid fields. Okay. And now obviously after registration we can go here and we can log in. Okay. Now after entering values, so when you click on login button, it will be redirected to the server. Okay, this Gmail or Google server. Okay, no, I'm sorry, it's a Facebook server. Okay, and it validates with that username or the mail ID which you provided and the password. Okay, so if those values are there or present in a database, then successfully it redirects to a specific page, or else immediately it responds, uh, this so and so user is not registered or not present in a specific, or not having any account with a Facebook. So that is called as your server side validation. Hope it's clear now. Okay, so now it's about the data types. Data types of data types. It's about var keyword, because JavaScript will not use any specific data types. So, but how do we assign? So we can assign the values directly in var keyword. We can use a var, or we have a let keyword, as well as we have one more, that is constant. Okay, so we can use any of that those keywords, and we can initialize values directly. Okay, right. So please observe here again, we are initializing with a variable. We're using var keyword and variable name along with a value. So this is called as initialization, right? And if it is a string, we must enclose within a double quotes. And if it is a group of IDs, if it's a more than one ID or more than one value, then we have to collect those closed braces, enclosed braces. So this is for the ID numbers, so with the square braces. And the third one is related to the object. Okay, so probably we'll not going to discuss object today. Okay, so we can have that discussion in the next session. Right, so now we'll continue. Right, so now it's about variables. Okay, so actually before there's data types itself I could have discussed. Fine. So variables, basically variables are used for storing kind of data. So that can be any type of data. Okay, so maybe numbers or characters, or numbers with the fractions, anything. Fine. Right. So here it's given about declaration. Yes, registers a variable in the corresponding scope. Again, there is a scope for each variable. Okay, and those variables can be initialized, means allocating memory for a specific variable. And along with that memory, yes, we can assignment specific value to a variable. So what exactly variable is about? A variable is a memory location where which stores some kind of some data. That can be any kind of data. Okay, so numbers, or as I said, characters, or maybe a numbers with the digits, fractions, etc. That's how variables will be used in any programming. It's not only with the JavaScript or C or C++, any programming language. Basically, it's variables are used for storing specific values. Okay, right? So we can observe here in this example. So the first one, okay, so the first one, where name equals to John, Johan, and so that is valid. We're initializing variable along with the value, so that is valid. But the second one, where ID comma salary, so this is not valid. Okay, we can say these are undefined variables. Okay, again we are taking one more variable, so that is age equals to 18. But for that same memory location, we are replacing the value. So this is possible, but not ID comma salary together. Okay. Right. So here is a simple example for variable. So before before moving to this, let's have a small discussion, hands-on on this for variable and for the data types. So it is my fine. I'm going to create, if I create JavaScript project, I can only create JavaScript files. Okay, so I'll go back and I'll create a static. Okay, so here with the static, JavaScript, I'm writing here as a HTML because together we are working. Now let's create one folder, or directly also we can have. Okay, so I'm just writing it as a Java. I'm writing Java SRI. Java SCRI instead of script. I'm writing in short form. Fine. So now let me create one HTML file where I write. So this is I'm writing here as an hello. Okay. So as I said, we can use script tag. This is about JavaScript message printing. Okay, so as I said, let's get into this one. Okay, inside body directly, script. Okay, and type is equals to text / JavaScript. Okay, and now get into this. So here it is about declaring variables. Okay, so var equals to, see, the data types are not allowed. Okay, it's actually it's allowing, but there's no such kind of data types used in our JavaScript. So I'm removing this. Int var var equals to, even this is wrong actually, var v equals to 21. Actually we can assign anything. Again we can use that same variable, var v equals to I'm writing here JS as a JavaScript. Again, var v equals to some points. Hope you guys are getting. now let me write. Actually, in JavaScript, if we want to print values, then we must use document dot write. This is a method. And now, so let me print v. Okay, so now I'm deploying. Why it is not printing anything? Document dot write. It's correct only now. Why is it not printing? Let me check with this last value. I have saved it. Nothing is wrong. Everything is fine. Fine. Let me take. Let's see now. Okay. Once this happens, this is very simple one. Why it's not printing value? Let's see. V equals to some value. Let me take another one. Okay, where I'll take X. Okay. Let me check. Y equals to some value. And now again where Z equals to it's Y. Okay. Z equals to X plus Y. Spelling mistake. Oh God. Document, it's BO. Okay. So now let me run, the addition of two numbers, that's the Z. Yes. So it was my, issue from my end. Fine. So what I wanted to show you, so the variables can be, the declared variables can be, used again. Okay. Repetition is possible with the help of this where keyword. Let me take now again where X equals to 100. Okay. So now which value will be, taken? Is it X is 100 or 21? Let's say with execution. it's taken the latest value, second value will be overridden with a 21. Okay, so what I wanted to show you, declared, used variable can be repeat. Okay, it can be repeated, remember. But this is not possible with a let keyword. So we have let keyword, right? Let me write. Okay, so here script, and now let equals to and again let num equals to JS. So this is not actually possible with a let keyword. So document dot write, and here we write num. Okay, it's taking. Let me comment this. So this is a single comment, single comment in JavaScript. Hope you people can find the difference, guys, for where and for let. Both are used for initializing, variables, but the difference is with where keyword, we can repeat variable names, but not with a let keyword. Any questions on this? So okay. If no questions, let's move further. And now we'll see function. Okay, so actually we do have it in our, in our operators. Okay. Before operators, actually we have a concept of functions. I guess I'm not given here. Fine. So there is another concept that's about functions. Okay. So basically, functions are used for performing a specific task, right? So how do we define? If it is a programming languages, basically we take, a specific return type. Along with the return types, we use a function name, right? But here, we don't use any, our own user-defined names. So we must use a function keyword. Okay, we must use a function keyword. Okay, so let me give you one simple example for function. Function activity. Okay, so I'm going to discuss about function activity. Now, let's write a script inside our body tag. Okay, so what we have to give it here? What I said, it's about function. Okay, function keyword, and say when I, it is giving by default, and the function name, let it be with a name. Okay, so now we can write something here. Document dot write. Okay, so hello functions. Okay, so this function, it's a keyword, fine. Now let's see, I don't think actually functions should be called. Let's see now. Functions must be called, okay? Right. So inside this, these functions we can have, or we can call this name here. Okay. So functions, obviously when we define function, we must to call those functions, right? So then only it will displace, right? So now I called the same name function outside of this function definition. Okay. So now this function, let me write here in the comments. Okay. Functions are, used to define. It's not used to define, used to perform specific task. Okay. So specific task which is assigned by a programmer. Fine. Which is assigned by a programmer. Right. So what is the task of this function now? It is just for printing message. Hello functions. That's it. Okay. So now let me take one more example. So that is an example for local variable and for the global variables. Okay. Variable scope. Okay. So now let's go here and use the script tag. Okay. Inside the script. Now what we have to do, so let's go with the function keyword, not iteration. Okay, function. This is for local scope. Okay. And now I'm declaring var value equals to, this is for JavaScript local variable. Okay, local variable. And click on, oh shit. Okay, so now, how do we access, or, basically when we talk about local variables, the variables which we declared inside a specific block. Okay, inside specific block, the scope will be only inside. We cannot access anywhere. Okay, so let me give you a simple example. We have ExcelR credentials, right? Can we use those credentials outside of this, outside in the sense with any other, websites? No, right? So this is, the scope will be to a specific, right? And yes, now let me print document dot write, and here I'm printing value. Okay. So now local scope. Okay, let me run and show you. So it's actually printing, local scope variables. Let's go and, do some modifications. And before this, okay, I'm defining function, function name, I'm taking it as F. Okay, so now observe, I'm trying to access this value, okay, inside this F method. Okay, accessing F method inside F function. Will it be acceptable, guys? What is this? again, I'll just copy paste this. Let me, first of all, there should be a proper format. Okay, so this is a format, fine. Now I'll copy this document.write. Okay. What is it? Run as, run on server, click on finish. So it's actually accessing, working with the first function. Actually, I know I didn't call the second function, right? Oh, that is a mistake. Right, so I'm calling a function. Okay. Now, okay, so now also there's no difference because, the value which is declared inside a function cannot be accessed outside. Okay, so that's called it as a local variable declaration. Okay, so now we'll discuss about, same way, global. Okay, so let me write here with a comment, local variable value. And, scope of this variable is only inside this function. Okay, this is about your local variables. So now let me take one more, because while you people referring, there should not be any confusion. So this is for the global variable scope. Okay, so that's fine. Let me remove. So we have a body tag, and inside body again, script. And right, so inside this, what we have to do now? Let's take where I'm taking name company equals to, I'm taking it here, it as an ExcelR. Okay, actually I taken, I took here string. Now go to function name is access print data. So this is my method. Okay, now inside method, right, so let me take one more variable where okay, I'm taking var as a live class. Okay, so live class equals to, I'm initializing value as well. Okay, live class, currently we are in advanced Java. Advanced Java. Okay. And now let's move to the another function. So function name is, this is for the print data. Okay. Print display services. Okay, I'm taking services. And now what can be displayed here? Let's write document dot write, and inside this method I'm printing. What I'm printing? First, I'm printing with that company. Okay, company. And again, dot right. So here with the right method, what can be added here? ExcelR provides different services. Okay. And now I'm printing another, another variable. So let's say the local variable. Local variable. Okay. Please observe. I'll copy this and paste here. The first one is global, right? Accessing global variable. Okay. So what is global variable? When we declare a variable in a global scope, that can be accessed anywhere in the program, in the current program. Even I can say it as we can access inside any number of functions. Fine. So now let me replace with the like class. Okay. Now let's go down. I have to call. So we have to call with a print data. And the first one is print data. And we have one more, that is display services. Actually, in general, I have written about the services. Okay. So if you want, you can describe each service here. Okay. So I'm executing now. Nothing is displayed here. Why? Print data. Okay, in print data, let me print document dot live class. These are called it as calling function. With comment I have to mention. Sorry. Right. Calling function. Both. Okay. So not only print. So this is about calling function. Let me write here about. But document dot write. Correct only, na? So now something is missed. Let's see now. Let me check with a break. Will it work with a break? Move to the next line. Okay, instead of break, let's see. Document dot write. Just for providing space. Okay, so actually it's not giving any space. I have to write that, after this, I can go here with after printing this, I have to, write one more. Just for giving space, I'm writing. That's it. That will be fine. So actually it's printing, the global variable. First, actually it's printing with a local variable. So live class, because I'm printing here, right? But where it's printing with the document dot write. Right. So in this method for again, after printing local variable, I'm printing, actually I'm trying to show you global variable can be called in any function. But even here you can print. Okay. So here we can print this. Which one? Company. Okay. So now find the difference. See? Advanced Java. Okay. So it's printing ExcelR, then Advanced Java, then again ExcelR, and provides different services. So this is about, the global declaration. Okay. Hope it is clear. And now the same functions. Okay. So same functions, I define with within that, header part, and then we'll print it. This is with a button. Okay. Script with it's a head. Okay, with head tag. On click method. Okay, remember this is actually this is an example for function itself, nothing else. Okay, so now we'll move to this header part and define the script. And now okay, right. So here we can define. Okay, so what we can define here. Let me write. Actually, when we discussed about the functions can return values. Okay, function can print value, etc. Okay. Mm. Now I'll give you one simple example with the alert message. Okay, with alert message. Let's take either we can define here or we can define this inside the method, and sorry, body tag itself. Okay, so I'm defining function and function name. So let me take message and this message with alert. Okay, with alert. So I'm calling alert. And yes, so here I can pass the message which which I wanted to display. Hello. Okay, so I'm just giving hello ExcelR. Okay, nothing else I'm printing. Fine. So now let's go to form. Okay, let's take form tag. Form. And here I'm not taking any actions. Okay, any action element. Okay, so then what I'm doing here in this action, input, input type equals to, this is for the button. Okay, so when I click on a button, it has to give some message. Okay, it has to alert with a message. Fine. So now button, and I have to call that method, right? So for that we have to use a attribute called on click. Okay, on click is equals to which method, which method is that? Message along with the braces. So copy and paste within this, double quotes. Okay, so then, we can pass function name, I mean the value for it. Value equals to, you can pass anything here, calling function. Okay. So now let's go to, yes, form tag is closed now, right? Let me run this. So here is about calling function. Actually, this is the name of the button. Okay, so now you can click on this. So what it is saying, actually, the message from website. So what message is this? Hello, ExcelR. Hope it's clear, guys. This is calling function. So basically we use this, JavaScript with the HTML in this format. Okay, so we'll move to another simple example where, the message, it's not message, the function returns value. Okay, so function return value. Okay. Function return value. Okay, so I'm taking here again, script type is JavaScript, and here let me, I'm defining function. So function and okay, function, let me write here function name square, and I'm passing number here. Okay, and here alert, and alert with the number into number. Okay, and now come out of the function and call that function. So let me copy paste. Okay, so here what we have to pass, square and the number. So either we can pass any number, 2 or 4 or 3, anything. Fine. So this is with alert. Okay, so if you wanted to find the square of a given number, then you can go for other logic as well. I mean, taking third variable and multiplying and assigning and printing, that is also possible. Okay, so now I'm printing. It is okay. This is actually I'm wrong. So I should call with a form because 1 second. So here with a form. Input type equals to input type equals to button, and which is that another keyword, that's on click equals to sorry, that is a square, this function. Square with number and value equals to 3. Okay. Let me write this in center. Center. Sorry, it is click. Why is it not giving alert message? It's a spelling mistake again. Okay, so when I click on, actually I can display here the message as well. Okay, but I'm printing here just a 4, square of a given number. Hope it's clear. Local variable and global. So local in the sense we declare variables inside a function. If it is a global, outside the function. Okay. Those global variables can be accessed anywhere. Inside any number of functions. So say examples, we have a government, any government ID proofs like Aadhaar card or a PAN card. So those can be used anywhere, right? But if we take any any local ID proof, suppose company employee ID card, identity card cannot be used wherever you go, right? So that's a difference between local and global. Okay, so now we'll move to another concept. So operators actually, yes, there are different types of operators in JavaScript. Okay, so depending on the requirement we can use. So, right. Basically, operators are used for performing specific operations, right? So we have different types in that, arithmetic operators we have, assignment operators we have, relational operators and local operators we have. Okay, sorry, logical operators just. Okay, along with this, even 1 minute. Okay, so relational and logical operators. So logical operators, depending on relational or logical operators, basically it returns Boolean value. Okay, right. So then we do have conditional operators where depending on the condition it returns true or false. It's not true or false. In case here we have, let me take an example for conditional operators. Even we can also call it as a ternary operators, right? So this is conditional operators. Okay, so here script. In this script, let's take var v equals to some value and var, let me take I and j. Okay, ij equals to, assume that 12, and var and value equals to let's say I greater than j and a question mark. So if it is a question mark, we can have I and colon j. Okay, so now we can print document dot write, and here in this value. Okay, what is, I guess double quotes are not, it's taking string. So it's given 12. Why it is 12? Because condition is not true, right? 10 is not greater than 12, right? Suppose if 10, I value is greater than, j value, then it returns immediate value, I mean, immediate variable values, that is I. But now this condition is not true. So it's returning the false statement, I mean, the value of j. Okay. So this is about your, conditional operators, or we can say it as in ternary operators. Ternary operators. Hope it's clear about ternary operators. Right. Okay. Fine. So now we'll move to another concept where we pass what is it? One simple example for get element. It's not get element. There is a method called get element by ID. Okay, just right. So 12 is greater than 10. That's the reason it's printing J value. We can change the condition, if required. We can change the condition here. Okay. So condition in the sense we can have here, right. So now actually condition is true. I mean, obviously 10 is less than 12. So it prints immediate value. Let me show you. Hope it's clear. If you want to print this in center, you can use center tag in HTML. Okay, so one simple example here I'm going to write. Okay, that's for getting get element. So this example is for get element by ID. Okay, so to select an HTML elements, JavaScript uses most common method, that is get element by ID. So here is sample example for this get element ID. Now let's take, I'm taking method name as get element by ID. So directly I'm taking that method name itself. Okay, so let's get into that. Right. So now we can have declaration part. In HTML we have discussed ID, right? So let's get into the body part, and here I'm taking h1 or any header heading tags. So let me take here oh God. So here actually, this is an example for method HTML. I'm taking actually HTML method, but it's not directly HTML method, but yes, HTML JS method. Okay. So here already we are aware about ID, of an elements in HTML, right? So let here, I'm just giving ID name as, D. So we can give anything, fine. And let's close this, paragraph. And now let's take script, right? So here variable var, and its variable I'm taking b. Okay, and we can have some value as well. And again, I'm taking one block. Okay, so one block variable again, it's actually not needed, but still, redeclaration I'm showing. B equals to some, 250. Okay. And now document dot write. It's not right. Actually, document dot get element by ID. Okay, so this is a method, and here I should call, we should call the ID. ID is what? D, within double quotes. Okay, dot inner, nothing is there as default. Okay, inner HTML equals to X. this variable I'm assigning, it's v, whichever the variable we have here, that value, variable I'm assigning here. Okay. And now end with semicolon. So now let's go to run this. Hope you guys can see ExcelR solutions is a one, which I have declared in H1 tag, I guess H2, H1 tag. And, when we have, we have an, which tag it is, P tag, paragraph tag. And with this P tag, I've initialized with an ID, D, and that ID I called along with the B. So we are printing instead of using our write method directly, even. So this is a method which we can use for printing value. Hope it's clear. Actually, even we can print, we can assign value. We can assign value in the sense, instead of replace, we can replace this with the value as well. Okay, so value is in welcome to anything. Okay, welcome to JavaScript. Basic JavaScript. Okay, basic JavaScript. And now let's go and run. This is also possible. Okay. Okay, fine. Now I'll give you one, actually for this, along with this JavaScript, even we can have, HTML, CSS as well. Okay, CSS and HTML together with the, this JavaScript we'll see in one class. But for now, I'll give you one simple, example for your, what is it, login form. Okay, login form with JavaScript. Okay. Let's see one simple, example for this. So why, before moving to that login form example, I just gave you, get element by ID. Okay, so basically, that method can be used for getting element. So by its ID. Okay. Now we'll write that a simple example for form tag. Actually, we have seen form tag, right? So now we'll continue that form tag, especially yesterday we have seen with a form element. Okay, form tag, but now login form we display with the table. Okay, now let's let me create login. Okay, so in this login form, if we wants to pass, CSS, we can, because we have, table, and for that table you can have required, attributes or the properties. We'll see that later. Now let's move to body part. Okay, so inside body, I'm taking form tag. Okay, so form tag, and I'm gonna use this in a center tag. Center. Okay. And table table tag, table. So with this table, I'm using cell padding equals to value. Okay. And now one second, it says, okay, fine. Now let's take, table row and table data. Table row. And in the table row, we have to define table data, right? So that is login. Okay, so now close TR. And again, now again, open TR. And now in this TR, TD. Okay. So inside this state, table definition, I'm passing input type equals to text, and name equals to user. Let me take lowercase as well itself. And for this, ID equals to again user. Okay, so here I'm taking name as a username, so that for later you should not get confused. And ID equals to user. Okay, so I'm using size as well. Okay, size equals to, you can pass any size. It is up to you how much you wanted to pass. And along with a placeholder. Okay, placeholder, and name is user ID. So this is just a kind of sample name, short name, we can say. It's not short name. I can compare with a nickname. Okay, so it's just a kind of nickname. Okay, so it's done about username. And now close this TR, and let's move to another table row, and that's for username, password. Okay, so now TD, and here again you take up input field, input tag. So input type equals to, this field must be password, sorry. So this is a password, and name equals to, so I'm taking it as a pass. Okay, I'm just giving password as a pass WR. Okay, and now ID. Okay, ID equals to, so again we can give any short name, or in general you can give password, but we might get confused with the type and ID. So here I'm giving PSW, and then size for it, size, it's again I'm giving same as a 50, and placeholder. So for placeholder I can I'll give okay. So now close this TD and TR. And now we can we can have a table closing. Yes, it's closed actually. Okay, so now again if you wants to add, it's not for adding. So we need to have one more button type, right? So here for that, table definition. Okay, so table definition, and I'm using class here. Okay, class equals to some value a I'm using. Okay, and now input type equals to, so here I have to, I'll be taking button, and for button value. Okay, so value equals to, let me give, sign in or login. And here I have to call a method called on click. Okay, so here for on click, actually I've not defined anything, right? And let me, let me take method name as check, check, just for, sample when I'm giving. So I'll define that name. And now for any spaces you can use, if required, you can use. So ampersand NBSP. So this is for giving space. Okay. And right, so table is closed, right? And now we can go ahead. We can have break statement, and if you want to add any images, you can add along with the address. Okay. Images, I'm not going to take any images, but here I'll give you hyperlink. Okay, hyperlink. Fine. So here break and anchor tag, h reference. Okay, h reference equals to https and colon www.google.com. Actually, I had to give any specific website name, but I'm not giving here, just a Google name I'm giving. But instead of adding, image, I'm trying to add, hyperlink. That's it. Okay, so now I have to define this method now. So we have to define this method, click method, right? So now get into the, get into that header part. Okay. Get into the header part. And now I'll define style. Style. So style sheet for, body, and especially for the table. Okay. Body tag. Okay, let's take, take it for body tag, sorry, table tag. So now table, and inside the table, border, hyphen, column space. Okay, so column space I'm using. Okay. And even we can have border colon, and size I'm giving 1 pixel with solid. Let's see. Okay. And right, so now after your header tag, right, so now it's not style, script, and now in the script I have to define function. So function name as check, right? Check. and get inside that, function. And now where user equals to document dot get element by id. Okay, get element by id, and this is for the username now. So get down, scroll down, and here check for the user id. So here for this input tag, let's check for id. Okay, so here we have, right? So copy copy this and scroll up here within double quotes, paste it. Okay, and now the next one is for where password equals to document dot get element by id and now again scroll down, because these IDs must be accurate. If not, we were not able to we won't be able to validate. Fine. So I'm copying this, including double quotes. So get here and paste it. Okay. So now whatever the value which is entered by user, those values will be assigned to these variables. And now I'm trying to validate. First of all, let me save. Okay. And now I'm using conditional statements. Okay. So if, let me, conditional statements for validation. Okay, so JavaScript will be supported for all the statements, in the sense conditional statements, looping statements. In conditional statements, how many we have? We have what is it? If else, and switch case, right? And if we talk about a looping, we have while loop, for loop, and do while as well, right? Okay. Fine. So now I'm validating. Okay, so what is the validation? First, I'll check with the empty values. Okay, so empty value. So user equals to empty, and logical, logical operators. So here I'll go with the or, logical or. Password. See, this user is this variable and password is this one. I'll copy and I'll paste it. Okay. So this is password equals to again empty. Okay. In case, if the value username and password are, are empty, so then we can have, I can display here alert message. So what is it? Alert. And here in the alert, I will be passing, fields should not be empty. Okay. And now, let me pass, one more condition. Okay. So that is else if. So what is that one more condition? I'm using that same field, user equals to, I'm using ExcelR and password equals to password equals to ex. Okay, let's give it as an ExcelR 123. Okay, so this is the password. And now let's display, alert. Alert with message. Login successful. Okay. Login successful. Again, we have one more, condition, else. So we can have alert. So what is that alert? Invalid. Invalid credentials. Okay. And yes, finally return. Finally return false. Okay, so this is my, condition. So now let's see how, execution will happen. I saved and I'm going to run this. Okay. Somewhere it's missed something. Check method. Let's get into check once. Correct. Okay, actually I commented this hyperlink. Let's see. Execution. Okay. User element. I have to call. Okay, but still it's not reflecting. If it's empty, let's say with ID. Else is a missed. Let me check by passing this inside the header tag. It's not reflecting. Okay. Let me check once this one. Input type, value is signing, and on click. It's absolutely fine. So now it says to check with values. It's messing with the it's actually not getting inside this function called the sound click method. Method is the no. I'm just replacing the name because to not get confused. So replacing the name. Login form. Let me try some duplicate values. Fine then. I'll check this issue and I'll solve it and I'll give it in the next session. Okay. So time is up. Okay. I'll check this. I'll check and I'll update you all. Okay. Apart from this, any questions or any doubts? Any questions, please? You can raise your questions. Inner HTML also, but specifically, here, we value also it works. Double quotes after credentials. Fine. So I will check, it might take time. So I will check and I'll update you all. Okay. Tried, right? So double equals, actually it's not getting inside function called. It's actually equal to only. Let's try for last trials. Say it has to give alert message that it should not be these fields should not be empty, but it's not reflecting. Fine, I will check. Okay, I'll check and I'll update you. Okay, I'll update you all. Fine, so we'll wind up the session. Thanks for all of you. Yes.